Hello everybody, welcome back. It's Sunday afternoon and everybody just went out. I thought, I can talk a little. I want to cover a little bit more of some of the physics things we're doing. If I forget, in a nutshell, I wanted you to see what I'm trying to show you is how historically thinkers, scientists, and philosophers, and early on they were all one field, okay? Early on in the early universities, when you studied God, theology, okay? Theology was called the queen of the sciences, and philosophy was her handmaiden, okay? But science was right in there, and it wasn't even a separate field at that time. Though science was going on all the way I showed you in the other video up until all the way to Aristotle. Okay? When we look at the greatness of everything, I guess the best example I could give you is this, because I'm still going to review some of the philosophy teachings on my own, so I'm going to talk when I have the chance. But what's an interesting thing, and what I try to show you in the other video, now I think it's the last one, I got about 4 videos that I'm working on right now. But what I tried to show you is, when we look at the whole expanse of everything, that philosophy teacher that I'm studying under right now, a physics teacher, he also teaches philosophy, but I don't have any of his courses on philosophy. I have his physics courses. He's right here. It's in my bag. He's a good man, okay? This would be the great courses I'll show it to you right there. Einstein's relativity and the quantum revolution, okay? Taught by Professor Richard Wolfson. Now, what I'm trying to show you in some of these things we're discussing, and I'm going to get to the message today. That's why I did this. Today the message at Church Unlimited was on suicide. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Because people, I think, my family was there and nobody says nothing. But I felt like, I just had the sense that my family might be thinking some of the signs they discussed. And so I don't want to just fight back against it. I might show you a little bit from that. But I had the sense that they were thinking, like, these are some signs that Dad shows. Which signs are there, but I'm not suicidal, okay? So you're in denial. No, I'm not. Maybe in the sense that I always like to reprove stuff. But what I wanted you to see in a simple nutshell on the physics we're doing is, as time progressed, started from the early, I told you this the other day, we had science, if you will, all the way back 300-400 years before Christ, with just the study of everything physical, which is really what physics is. And then you had, at the time of Isaac Newton, who I covered, you had really great breakthroughs with Newton. And Newton's breakthroughs, which this professor refers to that as classical physics, okay? All the way up into Einstein. And then he refers from Einstein, the beginning of the 20th century, up until now as modern physics. And if I remember correctly, I think people use different things. But either way, when we learned that the universe was so much greater than we ever understood before, and that the universe was actually expanding, and it never stopped expanding, and it's not slowing down, it's speeding up. What that showed us is, if it's so big, John, why didn't we find other planets like ours with life and trees? And it's so big, and we're the only one with every little measurement. There's so many I could give you that science discovered. Everything had to be exactly right. Many, many, many. These are also referred to as cosmological constants. I gave you the term in the other video where Einstein added a certain formula. He called it that, but cosmological constants are basically certain things have to be exact measurements, exact numbers, the distance of the sun from the earth. Why? And when the universe, we realized, was so vast, and some say there's multiple ones, multiverse, Alan Guth, if it's that big, greater than we ever, and yet we're still the only planet that has life, that has the, everything else looks like it's been in a nuclear holocaust, other planets. Why is ours the only one? So that would show me that we're indeed special. And when the Bible speaks about the creation of man and God making the earth, making everything, but the scripture talks about us as unique, us as a special work of art, if you will. So God made it all, and to me, science is not telling me we're not special. That's what that physics teacher I just showed you, that's part of what he's saying in that course. He says, look, the laws of gravity work anywhere, the laws of physics work anywhere, and so therefore we're not special. He said that a few times. And he said, unless you have that old Aristotelian mindset, or that old mindset of the old Christians and philosophers who believed we were special, he says, now science has shown us that we're not special. But that's not true. Obviously we're special. We used to think there wasn't such a vast universe. Now we found out there is, and yet at the same time, we're so unique in it. Our distance, even our placement in our galaxy, where we're placed, it allows us to have a certain, where we can see. Once telescopes were discovered in the Hubble telescope, we were able to, if we were in another place, we wouldn't have been able to observe everything as good as we see it from here. So it's almost like God said, I'm going to place Earth just in the spot where man gets smart enough and he'll be able to look at everything. I'll put him in a good spot where he'll be able to see as best as he could from the point of view. So this is what I wanted you to say. I want to talk about the message today was really on suicide in the church. That's what it talked about. And it gave signs of suicide and signs. And it talked about Elijah, the prophet. And I just was talking about him the other day. So some of the signs. They had Pastor Rick Warren do a video. Rick Warren is the pastor who wrote Purpose Driven Life. And there's a lot of controversy over it. I think the book is fine. And I like Rick Warren. He had controversy. But his son took his life a few years ago. Rick Warren's son. And so Rick Warren and his wife, they discuss that and they talk about that. And Rick Warren spoke for about 10 minutes on video. And they gave various signs. People isolate themselves. They don't want to have contact with other people. Reach out to other people for help. All of these things are good things. And I'm not, take medication. If you're on it, the pastor himself of the church said, if you're struggling with these types of depression and all these things, take medicine, take medication. All of that I'm not condemning for anyone. But at the same time, like some of the scriptures, I was going to have the little outline here, but I left it in the room. That's fine. I had to get the Bible. I didn't have everything organized. But in scripture also, there are times where you be alone, okay? There are times where you do separate. Now, I might read some verses. I just finished Deuteronomy, and this is not the Corinthians thing that I've been covering. And for those who kind of have been following, in Ezekiel, and I'm not coordinating these chapters when I read, okay? I'm reading consistently through, but it's not coordinated like Ezekiel and Deuteronomy or wherever else I'm reading. But in Ezekiel, I had really the great visions of the city of God and of the temple and of the palm trees and of the city on the south. Now look, a lot of that I've been reading in Ezekiel. Images, the city on the south, palm trees. And there's a verse in Deuteronomy when I finished. I'm going to read a few verses, but it actually said, if I can find it, these are blessings. In the south, there's one that basically says in Deuteronomy the same exact thing. It said the city on the south with palm trees. And of course, this is Moses. But I'm going to read. If I find it, I find it. I wanted to read you a few things at the end of the life of Moses. Moses, this is, I might add the verses, Deuteronomy 32. Moses made an end of speaking all these words to all Israel. Okay? This was the famous song of Moses that I discussed. For it is a vain thing for you, because it is your life. Get thee up into this mountain, God's telling Moses. And verse 50, this is Deuteronomy 32. And die in the mountain where you go, and be gathered unto your people. But God says, yet you will see the land before thee, but you will not go in. And God basically says, now Moses, okay, the mission is done. Now you get up into this mountain and you die. Now if Moses were to tell that, God told him that. And I'm not saying God's telling me that, but I'm saying how would we view that in the context of modern psychology? And we would say, nope, you need to get help. That's what we would tell Moses. And now, chapter 33, he said, the Lord came from Sinai and rose up from Mount God's glory. He delivered the people. I'll read a few. Bless the Lord. These are the blessings that Moses is going to give now to the people. And these are just a few. The Lord came from Sinai and rose up from Seir. He shined forth from Mount Paran, and he came with 10,000s of his saints. You read that in the New Testament. From his right hand went a fiery law. I quote a verse like that. From our right hand let the fiery law go forth. I think it might be Isaiah. Yea, he loved the people. All his saints are in thy hand. And they sat down at thy feet. Every one shall receive of thy words. And Moses was the great lawgiver. Moses commanded us a law, even the inheritance of the congregation of Jacob. And he was king when the heads of the people and tribes of Israel gathered together. Let Reuben live and not die, and let not his men be few. Now these are few blessings. Who said unto his father and to his mother. I like this. This is one of the blessings, the words he's speaking. And of Levi he said, thy Thummim and thy Urim be with thy Holy One, whom thou didst prove at Massa. Who said unto his father and to his mother, I have not seen him, neither did he acknowledge his brethren, nor knew he his children. For they when I read that, it was a picture of Christ when they said, your mother and your brothers are outside. And this is Levi, the tribe, the priestly tribe. Jesus comes from the tribe of Judah. But when I read it, it's Deuteronomy 33, verse 9. I had a picture of Christ. He said, who is my mother and who's my brothers? In a sense, he even separated himself from Jesus teaches in his teachings in the Gospels. If you love mother and father or wife or land, if you love them more, then you're really not worthy of the kingdom. And in this verse it says, he said, I knew them not. I don't know them. And Jesus fulfilled that too. So part of the priestly calling, or our calling, is the believers. One of the great truths restored in the Reformation in the 1500s was the priesthood of all believers. We're all priests unto God. We're all separated unto God. They shall teach Jacob thy judgments and Israel thy law. They shall put incense before thee. I was praying this morning, beautiful day, and I burned incense in a little thing I bought a while ago, in the yard, in the session, prayer. Bless the Lord, his substance, and accept the work of his hands. Smite through the loins of them that rise up against him, and of them that hate him, that they rise not again. And of Benjamin he said, the beloved of the Lord shall dwell in safety by him, and the Lord shall cover him all the day long, and he shall dwell between his shoulders. Just blessings. And of the chief of things of the ancient mountains, and blessings upon Joseph. His glory is like the firstlings of the bullock. His horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them, that's authority. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth. They shall call the people unto the mountains. There they shall offer sacrifices of righteousness. And of Gad he said, blessed is he that enlargeth Gad. He dwelleth as a lion. Teareth them, as script in Proverbs it says, the righteous are as bold as a lion. The wicked flee when no man pursues. It says, be careful when you stir up the wrath of a lion, of a king, because it's like you're coming, and in Scripture, we're kings and priests unto God. You know, Justice Scalia, the Supreme Court Justice, just died yesterday. You know, in his sleep. You know, I mentioned the case about Carlos de Luna. I wrote it, those of you follow the site. But you know, the one justice that was mentioned in that articles that I was posting was Scalia. Scalia was very conservative, those who follow these things, Supreme Court justice. But he said, we've never executed an innocent man. It's possible we did. And Scalia was the only one, when I was doing that case, where I said, but if we did, and if you defend it, we're all in the court. Okay? I said, now we're calling and we have authority. We ask God, you mete out righteousness. If they did some bad things, if they killed some innocent people, if we've executed innocent people, and Scalia dies. Now, did he die because you said that, John? No, but I sure thought that was strange, because God rules in the affairs of men. And things can go on for a long time, but we, as Christians, have the authority to say, now, Lord, if some injustice was done, in whether an execution of an innocent man or whatever, we ask for you to look now into it. It says in Revelation, how long, O Lord, before you avenge the blood of your martyrs upon the earth? I pray that. And I'm not asking for, I say, God, if injustices that are going on in nations, now look, we call the light. I found that was interesting. Blessed be God, I'll enlarge him. He executed justice of the Lord. Naphtali, he said, be satisfied with favor, full with the blessing of the Lord. Possess thou the west and the south. Of Asher, he said, blessed be with children. Let him be acceptable to his brethren. The eternal God is thy refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. And he shall thrust out the enemy from before thee, and shall say, destroy them. Israel then shall dwell in safety alone. Yeah, alone. Now I understand it's talking about a nation, Israel, but alone. There's times where there's, and in Elijah's life, there's a time to be alone. In John the Baptist, he's called the voice of one crying in the wilderness. So it's also a time in society where you say, you begin seeing the bigger picture. You know, when I watch our political things going on right now, Russia this week, I could have posted, I talked about Russia has basically been telling us, and it came out, we are back into a Cold War with the United States. If you don't get on board with what we're trying to do in Syria, Russia's saying, if you go your route, basically we're going to have war. We're going to have war. And I have defended Putin in Russia in this sense. Much of our involvement in that part of the world, Libya, Egypt, all these, when we make moral judgments, this guy must go, Gaddafi must go, this one must go, Assad must go. Later on, the after effects of those judgments, when we go in militarily and back up the execution of those people, whether it's Saddam Hussein, when they hung him in the streets, it was a result of what we did. And in every one of those cases, those countries are a disaster, hotbed for ISIS, and it's a disaster. And our media right now is talking about resurgence of the Taliban in Afghanistan. Much of that is ISIS. They're putting ISIS flags. Well, John, why don't they say that? Because they don't want you to think that we're losing so badly that ISIS has got such a presence. They got a presence in Libya and places like Afghanistan. So we'd prefer to just say it's Taliban. But I'm telling you, we've made decisions as a country in the West, in the United States, that has destabilized and made a lot of problems. And Putin is backing up Assad, the leader of Syria, because he's saying, look, the only way we're going to fight these groups, and if you're funding, and this came out in the Republican debate last night, and Putin, he's probably correct, that if we think we're going to go in again and say, no, the way to do this is we've got to remove Assad and we've got to fight ISIS at the same time, and the way we're going to do that, we're going to support all these other groups who are just as bad as ISIS. It's just they don't have the name on them. So we've made decisions that are going to come back. And Russia has been talking openly. And Ash Carter, our defense secretary, I believe Ash Carter, the number one threat that he sees is Russia and China. And I've been saying that for a while. They've basically made decisions. They said, no, the United States, you've been messing here. And that's why Russia is rebuilding all of its closest to 10. They had these military bases shut down. The closest ones on the border of Russia and the U.S., which is not much. From Alaska to Russia is very close, like Cuba and Florida. And they're reinstituting all those bases. They're getting ready, if things happen, and say, you think you're going to come into Russia if things go bad in Ukraine and Syria, and you start doing anything with us, we're going to hit you. You're going to be hit for the first, since World War II, you've not had something that's in your own territory. They're talking that way. And as I read these things, and I look at the economic situation, I think the cup is full. The cup is full. A few more verses. And the Lord said unto him, this is the land which I swore unto Abraham, to Isaac, Jacob. I will give it to thy seed. I have caused thee to see it with thine eyes. And Moses, but you're going to die. And no man knoweth where his grave is unto this day. He was gone. And Joshua the son of Nun was full of wisdom, because Moses laid his hands upon him, and the children of Israel hearkened unto him, and did as the Lord commanded Moses. And there arose not a prophet since in Israel like unto Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, and all the signs and the wonders which the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt to Pharaoh. God sent Moses to show his glory by Moses himself coming up against authority that was unjust, which was Pharaoh, and to all his servants whose land, and in all that mighty hand, and in the great terror which Moses showed in the sight of Israel. Now, I couldn't find that verse but there's one in here. I might post it if I find but it talked about the city on the south and the palm trees. And it came right out of Deuteronomy, which is the ones I was quoting the other day were in Ezekiel. But I found it interesting how, a lot of things fit, a lot of things are coordinated. And a few comments on that, because the message was on suicide and things of that nature. And it said, don't isolate, don't be by. But there are times in God's calling, not where suicide is an option, but there are times in God's calling, and in the verses I just read, God said to Moses, now you're going to die. Your mission is accomplished. You fulfilled the purpose. And that is the theme of Scripture. That is the theme of Scripture. And how to end certain aspects of what God's called you to do, how to end them well. Okay? And I don't think we always deal with them correctly. I don't think we always see that aspect of the calling. This is my prayer spot here. So, I just wanted to talk about that. I want to discuss that. And I like the story of Elijah, though I'm not studying Kings right now. This is part of my prayer spot here. See? There's 3, you can see it. There's a verse right there. So you stand up here, you pray. See? It's pretty out here. Palm trees all over. Therefore, let us be grateful for receiving the kingdom that cannot be shaken. And when I walk this, I quote, ponder the path of thy feet. Let all of thy ways be established. Look not to the right hand or to the left. Remove thy foot from evil. I put this little chandelier. We put a new chandelier in 6 months ago. My wife was going to throw that out. I said, no, I want to use it. And so it reminds me of the table. Thou preparest the table before us. There's a lot of verses I quote when I'm out here. That in this mountain, the spiritual mountain and community of God, that the veil and the covering that is on the face of all people will be removed. That the light of the gospel will shine. Look at those palm trees all the way out there. All the way out there. The city of palm trees. I stand right here. There's a verse. The Lord carried me away in the spirit into a great mountain. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Look at this verse. It fits. Did you set it up? No. I am not alone. but the Father is with me. But Jesus, it says at one point he would no longer walk, King James says, he would no longer walk in Jewry, the area of where they were looking to get him, because they sought to get him. So he's walking in this, he's giving us a pattern, walking in the light of the Lord, whatever the Father directed him. And at times, they would be offended, because it says he was going through a certain city, but his face was so set to Jerusalem that they were offended, because he was like, they thought, oh, he's here now. Jesus is in our little town, and we heard so much about him. Surely there's going to be a whole lot, we're going to have a lot of, see his miracles, and he went right through the town. And they were like, wait, where am I? He said, I'm on a mission. They were offended. And it says, that verse, I painted that a long time ago. The night cometh when no man can work. And when God begins, look, when the night comes, there's a scripture that says, I quote these, arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Darkness will cover the earth, and gross darkness the people, but his light shall arise upon thee. And there's a season in judgment. And I think our country's in this right now, this year. And a night comes, and all the other things, any injustices that we as a nation have done, and we have done them, any manipulations that we have made, military decisions based on politics, it'll make us look bad if we change our thing now. So it's a lot of those decisions are life and death decisions with other peoples of the nations, and many of them are made because of political image. If we change now, if we do this now, it'll make the U.S. look bad or the president look bad, so let's stay on course. And you're talking about people that are getting killed. See? There's a corporate judgment that comes on nations. And when the night comes, no man can work. And those that are real comfortable with their manipulations, those that are in positions of power. The next chapter I'm going to read, I've been reading also Luke. I love Luke. The first few chapters, talking about John the Baptist again. I'm not going to read it, but I'm right up to Mary's Magnificat. And it's a great prayer. It's Mary's prayer. I taught this in San Antonio. I took a ride once and taught it. But it says the father and the mother, Zacharias and Elizabeth, of John the Baptist, before he was going to be born. And Zacharias was a priest. He was fulfilling God's course. It says they were blameless, keeping all the commandments of the Lord. And Zacharias was a priest according to the old law. And he's in the temple. And then the angel appears. The messenger, Gabriel, appears. Your prayer is heard. Elizabeth's going to have a child. His name's going to be John. And that was a strange name. It said, but John the Baptist. The messenger is going to come. It said in Malachi. And they're shocked. I could read a few. I don't want to do it. I already did. And he's having this discourse with the angel. And John the Baptist's father, John's not born yet. How do I know these things are going to be? And the angel says, I'm in the presence of God. I'm an angel. And you're doubting? You got an angel visiting you, Zacharias, and you're doubting? So you're not going to be dumb for a season. You're going to be silent. And the child's going to be born. And God, he fulfilled it. And he's going to go in the power and the spirit of Elijah. And he's going to turn the hearts of the children to the fathers and the fathers to the children. And John the Baptist was a firebrand. And he was baptizing, he was preaching, and he was a radical. He was a radical prophet. And he was executed. I taught that recently. But he was coming against wicked authority, Herod. And then when you read later in the chapter of Luke, you're going to read of the angel appearing to Mary, the mother of Jesus, the Virgin Mary. You'll conceive, you're going to have a child. He's going to save his people from their sins. And Mary gives this wonderful, we call it Mary's Magnificat, how God brings down wicked authorities. We have alliances with Egypt. Those They're wicked. Those Egyptian military guys running that country, they're wicked. They're putting reporters in jail. They're wicked. They're wicked. And they're all doing it under the name of, we're fighting terrorists. Mary said, my soul doth magnify the Lord, and my spirit has rejoiced in God my Savior. For he has regarded the low estate of his handmaiden. For behold, from henceforth all generations shall call me blessed. For he that is mighty hath done great things, and holy is his name, and his mercy is on them that fear him from generation to generation. He hath showed strength with his arm. He hath scattered the proud in the imagination of their hearts. He hath put down the mighty from their seats, and exalted them of low decree. This is Jesus' mom, the Virgin Mary. He hath put down the mighty from their seats. He hath filled the hungry with good things, and the rich he hath sent away empty. What? What about the message, Mary, about all the prosperity that the rich are blessed? He hath hope in his servant Israel, in remembrance of his mercy, as he spake to our fathers Abraham, to his seed forever. And Mary abode. That's Mary's Magnificat. That she's going to bear the Messiah. Oh, great! We're going to be delivered from the mighty are going to be put down. Those that were oppressing people, oppression in society. So 31 minutes. I just wanted you to see that, because I felt a little like when the message, it was a very good message on signs of people that are in depression and people are struggling, and how, but I would just simply say, and some people, everyone had their heads bowed, and the pastor did a very good job. Raise your hand if you feel like you're suicidal. No, I didn't raise my hand, and I didn't feel like I'm suicidal. But I just felt, my family was there, and like some of those signs could apply to people that are isolating, but there's also callings for that. Okay? John the Baptist is called the voice of one crying in the wilderness. I'm just simply giving you examples. There are times where you also separate. You see, not that you're judging people, but you're thinking, it says of Jesus, a lot of people were coming to him, John's Gospel, I think. And it says, but he would not put his confidence in any of them, because he knew what was in man. There was a basic understanding that the sinful nature, that Jesus knew more, and the effects of it on humanity, because he was the Messiah. He said that he would not put his trust in them, for he knew what was in man. Okay? So we have friends, we have people we, can be friends with them all, but in the end, God's the only one. Okay? Salvation comes from the Lord. So, I got a bunch of videos I got to put up. I quote verses. So let's just worship God. Father, I pray that your kingdom would come, your will would be done on earth as it is in heaven. That we remember that the kingdom and the power and the glory are yours, and that you vindicate who you are when you do things in us. That Moses, it says, was a prophet, and you sent him to do great signs, Pharaoh and these other nations. And it magnified you. It brought glory to you. So let us, as we operate, Father, and as we function in these things, let us also realize when you're working in us, it's glorifying you. It's glorifying you. And salvation comes from the Lord. That's what David said. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee. The Lord be gracious unto thee. And the Lord give you peace. And I pray for you guys that God would do a work in you. That at this time, I don't want, when I talk about the economic collapses that's coming, I really believe it's coming. Okay? Whole lot of reasons. And it's not meant to give you fear. Okay? Blessed, trust in God. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. So I want to encourage you. Okay? I want to encourage you. God's going to uphold us. Okay? God bless everybody.